Thanks for coming all the way out.
Thanks for having me.
We have a tremendous amount of ground to cover. We could probably focus on a million different things. We have a limited amount of time, and you have a lot to say. But I'd like to ask you a little bit about South Dallas, where you were born. Musical hotbed in the late 60s through the mid 70s. Tremendous amount of talent, much of it unrecognized. Did you grow up surrounded by this musical community?
Not really. You know, I didn't really start my musical career until the 90s. But it's a very heavy blues influence in Dallas, where I'm from. Muddy Waters and Johnny Taylor. And a lot of blues people came out of Dallas in the early 70s, 60s. A lot of artists would come through, and there was a theater called the Central Forest Theater where artists would come and perform from the JBs, Aretha Franklin, you know, John Coltrane, whoever came through Dallas. That was a central spot for them in Dallas. And I grew up listening to that kind of music. I mean, I grew up listening to everything, you know, from Pink Floyd, Joni Mitchell, Denise Williams, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Just, you know, so many different genres of things. And I'm really a child of the funk music. My uncles listened to funk music most of the time, and that's what I kind of grew up listening to.
Can you elaborate a little bit, like some names?
Bootsy Collins, Parliament Funkadelic, Zapp and Roger. What else? So many.
The Meters?
The Meters, of course. So I don't know. I can't really think of all of them right now, but just so much funk music played in the house. Prince was even considered funk at the time in the 70s. Rufus, Shaka Khan, Ohio players. Just, you know, y'all know the stuff. Yeah.
Prior to your arrival here, you gave an interview that was published in Fact magazine, and you said that the first hip-hop song you heard was Apache by the Incredible Bongo Band. I find that interesting because most people wouldn't call that a hip-hop song, but you do. Why?
Actually, it was Apache. I think that was Soul Sonic Force. Apache Jump On It.
Oh,
so I think they just wrote the wrong band down.
Okay.
You know, dun 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 Tonto, jump on it. Yeah.
Interesting still.
Yeah.
Were you aware of any of the other talent of your generation in Dallas, like Roy Hargrove?
Yeah, we went to high school together. He's we were in a rap group together. He was the beatbox and I was the MC. We went to a school of arts called Arts Magnet High School, where the genres were music, dance, visual art, and dance, music, visual art, and music, instrumentation. And Edie Brickell graduated from there before me. And then later, Nora Jones and some other people along the way.
Roy was obviously already a trumpet player because I saw his middle school record from Oliver Wendell Holmes Middle
Right,
School.
yeah.
He's standing in front of a DeLorean with a trumpet.
Right, he's incredible. He used to play so hard in junior high, and the teachers used to think that he was playing wrong, you know, because it was so strong and so hard. They thought he was going to hurt himself. But he knew what he was doing. He already understood the breathing and the control, and, you know.
Were you playing any instruments?
Drums, any kind of percussion. Yeah, I played a mean tambourine back then. Too. Yeah.
When did
Piano.
You, when did you realize that you were going to do music professionally?
94, 5, 1994, 95. I was in a group with my cousin Free. We were called Erykah Free, and I was an MC first. And he went to the Art Institute of Chicago. I went to Grambling State University. And he would mail me cassette tapes of beats, and I would usually rap over them. But just one time I decided to write a song, and it was Apple Tree. And that was 1993 or 4, and we decided, well, we may have something, because people liked it and thought it was unique and different. And I never really considered myself a vocalist. I was a writer more than a vocalist, lyricist. And I guess that developed along with it, because they thought I had a kind of unique voice. And the next song I wrote was On and On. That was with Jamal Quintero in Dallas. And his name is now Jaborn Jamal. And he produced On and On. That was the second song I wrote. And I performed that. I opened for Mobb Deep and Notorious B.I.G. in Dallas. And people liked it. And
obviously, that's a game-changing song for you.
yeah.
So, not to backtrack, but if it took until the mid-'90s before you realized that you were going to do music professionally,
Yeah.
How did you see your life unfolding prior to that?
Well, I was an artist. I mean, my religion is art. From the time I was a kid, I was either in dance class or theater or making paper doll clothes or doing something pertaining to art. It was where I shined. I did my first performance when I was about 6 or 7 in theater at my elementary school. And I really enjoyed the immediate reaction from the audience, because it was a comedy thing. I thought I was going to be a stand-up comedian. They thought I was hilarious as a kid. And I don't know, I just moved into different things. I've always danced and ballet and modern and anything that had to do with art, I could catch on and do it kind of well. I don't know how to read music, never understood theory. I'm not a great dancer. I'm a cool vocalist, but it just feels really good to me. It feels good. I like how it feels. And it became my therapy and later my job,
Your therapy, you mean when you were in your mid-20s?
All my life. It was how I expressed my anger or pain or joy or fear or love, through dance or painting or singing or rapping.
What was it like to perform On and On at a Mobb Deep and Notorious B.I.G. show?
It was great. It was great. It was a very rare opportunity. I never thought I'd be doing that. After I did those songs, there was a 3-song demo with Apple Tree, On and On, and My Life. It was a song I wrote. It was over a total different beat than it is on Mama's Gun. But we passed the demo around, and it got into the hands of this promoter in Dallas. And he called me, and he didn't believe it was me singing it, so he asked me to sing it over the phone. And I sang it over the phone, and he goes, well, let's see what you got. Can you come down and open for, Mobb Deep and B.I.G.? It's like, yeah. And
Wow.
that's how I got started.
No trepidation when an offer like that came your way, an immediate yes?
Yeah. Yeah. After all, I went to the School of Arts and was surrounded by artists and had plenty of practice expressing myself. And by that time, the fear had diminished, and it was truly therapy, to the point where I just stand in one place with a mic and close my eyes. And never underestimate the audience's ability to connect with what I'm trying to express.
So you never received any training on the voice. It was just something that came through you.
Yeah.
And obviously, On and On went to become a big song, but you had to get signed first. People had to hear it outside of a Mobb Deep show.
Right.
How'd that happen?
Well, there's this really huge music festival in Texas, in Austin, Texas, called South by Southwest. And a lot of people gather. It's like a gathering, a tribal gathering of music. And it's spread all over Austin, different clubs and different arenas. And And I had a demo tape with some pictures and passed it out. And this Mobb Deep's manager, Tammy Cobbs, gave it to this dude named Kedar Massenberg, who was an aspiring record label owner. And he got a deal with Universal through, with that music. He was managing D'Angelo at the time. And we were his two artists. And we got the attention of Universal and other labels. And we decided to roll with Kedar because it was just two of us. And we knew that we would get the attention that the kind of music we did needed. And we decided to do that.
Was this after D'Angelo released Brown Sugar, or was it during the time? After.
I was working in the coffee shop when D'Angelo released Brown Sugar.
Wow. And then all of a sudden you were side by side with him.
I was frother of the month. And I would listen to that CD in the coffee shop. And meanwhile working on that music with my cousin. And
this is in Dallas. You're still living in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kedar negotiates a deal with Universal.
Right.
But it's through you signed to him, right?
Right. So basically I signed a production deal with Kedar. And he got a label deal with Universal. And I also had to sign an inducement letter with Universal, meaning if Kedar left or decided to do something else, I would have to stay with Universal. That was the catch.
And you've been with them ever since.
Yeah. No horror stories, I take my time. And they support my art to the best of their ability. The record industry itself is declining because of social networking and our new way of communicating music. But I don't really have a horror story with it. I just turned in my music when I finished it with all the artwork and packaging, liner notes, lyrics. If I had to figure out how to clear samples, we would do that. Everything was in-house that we did in Badu World, and we would just turn it in, and they would take the art and put it in the best frame they could put it in. And the first year was incredible. I've never had another year like 1997. And that was the year for me. That was the year where the music was recognized and appreciated. And, if there was an award show, I was there. If there was I was just there. I toured for the whole year, and it was incredible. It was an incredible year. The record sales were amazing. Baduizm was that one for me.
You're referring to your first album, Baduizm, 1997.
Right.
And so within a couple years of pulling espresso shots and listening to D'Angelo, you're on the same stage as him.
Yeah.
And, you referred to the decline of the music industry, but that record was released, in what I suppose we would think of as, the last great hurrah. I mean, records sold back then.
That was the end of the analog era. It was a cassette tape at that time. There was no CD. Nobody had a cell phone. It was totally analog. And 2-inch tape, It was that time, and the music was still very warm. We could still hear traces of Intervisions and Graham Central Station in the music because of the way it was recorded.
And so that entire process, the entire record, everything from the recording of it, the songwriting, the art direction, that was all you.
Yep.
And somehow you got it released on Universal Motown, right? It was Motown, right?
It wasn't Motown at the time. It was just Universal at the time.
And it went on to become a tremendous success. And On was the song from that record. It's the song that everybody, no matter who you are, if you were alive in 1997, you know that song.
Yeah.
You want to play it?
Sure. I mean, they know it, right?
How many of y'all know this song? I mean, can we play it to give you some context? Well, geez, maybe we don't need to play it. Yeah, there we go. Play it anyway.
We'll just do a sample of it. Let's see. On and on. On and on. And this version of it was not the original version. The original version was very, very, very raw. very B girl, and I think the mixing engineer was Bob Power, and Bob felt that it needed to be sonically a lot clearer and these kind of things. But I like the rawness, and at that time, I don't know if they really could appreciate the rawness of a R&B singer, because that's what I was categorized as. But I wish I had the original version. That would be cool to play.
It's lost? I mean, you have the tape somewhere.
It's a cassette tape somewhere in my apartment in Brooklyn somewhere. Let's see. LMNO. All right.
You said B girl. Does that mean the original version has that little top billing thing at the beginning too?
No, but it was very raw. This version has live guitar, live bass, and different things stacked on top of the original loop. You know, the original loop is a lot rawer. You could hear the static and just the imperfection of it, and it went very well with my imperfect voice. You know, and it was cool. But I'm glad that I did it like this, because it wouldn't have been this if it hadn't been done like this. So,
Did you know of Bob Power's prowess when he was giving you his direction?
yeah, you know, I chose Bob because he mixed the Tribe Called Quest Records, and because of the kind of samples that Quest chose and Dilla chose, Bob's ear was really attuned to that kind of sonic sound. He knew how to really round out the bass without making it overpowering, and you know, the highs would be perfect. You know, just where everything sits in the mix of all those Tribe records is very much part of that feeling, and I wanted to feel that with my music too when listening back to it.
You said your imperfect voice. Really?
Yeah, I mean it's fine, but it's, you know, there's no melodyne, there's no, you know, all the new auto tuning and all that kind of stuff. It's a human voice, and the original track was very human to me as well.
I mean, it would seem that your ability to connect with people came from your imperfect voice. I mean, if auto-tuning had existed, if someone had, you know, forced you to auto-tune your voice, it probably would have been a very different trajectory, don't you think?
I don't know.
On and on. Didn't you win a Grammy for that?
I think I got about 2 or 3 for that.
Imperfect indeed. So,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. So, tremendous success very quickly. And you touched upon it briefly. a couple moments
It
ago.
happened real fast for me. 97 was a really whirlwind year for me. The album came out February 11th. The single came out February 7th. I got pregnant March 1997. So the whole first year of my career, I was pregnant on the road. I had my baby November 18th, 1997. My second album came out November 18th, 1997. Same day the baby was born. The live album with Tyrone on it.
Wow. I mean, becoming a superstar is probably enough to drive most people crazy, and you were doing
I
that.
never felt it even once,
At all.
because it's like when it's moving so fast like that, you're not watching the shows, and you don't hear yourself on the radio. You're actually doing it. You're performing, and I was at every radio show. I performed 8 months out of that year. I don't do any of that shit now at all. But I worked very, very hard that year, and I didn't get to really see any of the, awards or limo rides or any of that kind of stuff. It was a lot of hard work. And I had one employee, one person in my entourage. His name is Big Mike. Big Mike, when it got the food, carried me if I was too tired. Got the car, drove would fly the plane if we had to get there. Helped me pack my clothes. It was just me and him. And he didn't ask for no pay for like 2 years. So I didn't even realize I was supposed to be paying him. And, then I think somebody told me, do you think Big Mike needs to be paid? It's like, oh, yeah. He's here. Where is Big Mike? He stepped out. Oh, that's his son, Little Mike, right there. But Big Mike just stepped out. And, the same people that I started with are the same people that are still with me now for the past 16 years or so. And it's like a family. And it was a lot happening that year, 98, I kind of worked that second album live. 99, I breastfed. 2000, I was breastfeeding. And I think Mama's Gun came out in 2000. So I was kind of home the whole year. I had some DA88s. What do you call it? Is it DA88s? Yeah, I had 2 of them. And I recorded with those and making beats with an ASR-10 rack mount. And 88 key little piano. I got into my live instrumentation for Mama's Gun. I started working with Questlove. He was on the first album too. When I got to New York in 95, Baduizm was pretty much finished. But I told Kedar that I needed to go to Philly for a couple of months. And when I come back, I think I'll be ready. And I went and stayed with the Roots in this house. And we came with lots of songs, but we chose Other Side of the Game. And sometimes to go on Baduizm. After that, Quest introduced me to James Poyser during that time and Pino Palladino. And we got in a studio and we recorded everything in a room about this big, all at the same time. I had a mic. Quest was on the drums behind a gobo. Pino was standing beside me, and James Poyser was on the Rhodes. And we recorded a lot of the Mama's Gun songs like that.
How did you know to search out the Roots, Quest particularly?
I just loved them. I love the Roots, I love the jazz aspect of what they were doing. It was a continuum of what A Tribe Called Quest was doing. And I was just into that sound. It was very familiar to me. I felt like we were from the same tribe. And once we met we all kind of just gelled and understood each other.
I've heard you say tribe before. Do you look at the musicians you work with as like an ever-expanding tribe? People kind of go off on sojourns, come back,
Yeah,
things like that?
absolutely. Yeah. If you think about what a tribe-based community is, it's people that eat the same foods and wear the same clothes, and you know, people to me in a tribe that I'm referring to kind of understand the same music sonically, and we don't have to explain anything. It's just what it is.
So when you first were hanging out with the Roots, you said Baduizm it was completed. It wasn't out, and you were working on music together. You obviously weren't a star. You were just a person with ideas, a voice.
Right.
What was it, do you think, that made them take you so seriously if you spent 3 months living and working with them?
I think they just related to my feel. The kind of music that I wanted to put out hadn't been in mainstream radio. It's not that it hadn't existed. It's almost like I poked a hole in the dam, allowing all the water to flow through that had the same frequency, you know, because it was there. We were doing music like this, but it wasn't in mainstream radio. And they related to that. Plus, you know, I had a budget, and they knew they were going to be paid too.
That works.
So it was even more fun.
You said you were a child of the funk earlier on in this interview, yet there was a moniker kind of developed for this style of music as a marketing tool, maybe, neo-soul. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Keith Dar came up with that name for D'Angelo and I because, of course, as a up-and-coming record label executive, he wanted to create something for himself as well. And that's what he decided to call the music that he put out, you know. We didn't really care because whatever neo-soul is, it's cool, but me and D'Angelo don't sound anything alike. Our music sounds nothing alike. But what we did have in common was that we were considered brave enough to put out music that hadn't sounded like that on mainstream radio in America.
You sound very proud when you say that. I mean, that you broke through and you allowed people to express themselves in a very unique, genuine way, and also, you know, get signed to record companies and make a living doing music.
It's an honor, you know, to be trusted by people that have the power to put your music out. You know, that's an honor to be trusted, and Kedar trusted that, and it was a big part of it was his taste. You know, his taste in music was unique.
So that moniker, has it been a blessing, a curse, something of the two?
I don't know. To me, you mean? Blessing or curse?
Well, I mean,
The moniker of neo soul.
yeah. Let me color that a little bit. It
Okay.
just seemed that for very many years, this idea that there could be a neo soul music, soul being a rather young
I don't
musical
even
form.
pay attention to that.
You didn't even, it didn't even enter into.
No, it's you know, as an artist, I never saw it fit to be my job to, you know, try to fit into any kind of category or label. You know, I just have to do things that feel good, and my only job is to be honest. You know, because that's what music is. That's what I use it for. You know, it's a platform for me to express the way I feel and be honest. You know, so that really didn't matter. I don't reject it or claim it or anything. You know, I didn't know what it was personally, but you know, I just felt like I was making music that I liked, and I think D'Angelo may feel the same way.
The follow-up album after the live album Mama's Gun, which we were talking about, you obviously had the budget to make any kind of record you wanted to.
Right.
And you went deeper down the rabbit hole. You know, this was the first album on which you worked with J D, right?
Yeah.
So was this a conscious decision that you were going to, really go all the way, picking out the most talented people, maybe the likes of which wasn't recognized by the conventional record companies at the time?
The thing is, you don't know if it's the most talented people or anything. It's just, what I like, what feels good to me. And it was a conscious decision when definitely, I knew what I liked and how I wanted the music to sound, what I wanted to rock over. I know what music I wanted to write over because the music comes first for me. I don't write lyrics and then music. That's poetry. It's music first, and then I write to the music. I find a place in that music, and I can't write to just any kind of music. It has to touch me, in a very special way.
Can you talk about meeting J.D. Dilla?
Yeah. I met him through Common. Common and he were good friends. And I went to Detroit and because I wanted him to be on my album. I didn't know in what kind of way. And you always just hope that something works out great. If nothing, you have a good friendship with the person. And we went in the basement, and his basement was about this size, and every wall from floor to ceiling was records categorized. He was a scientist. Like, if you open his refrigerator, all the Coke cans were turned the same way. It looked like a graveyard. It was perfect. Everything was perfect. He was an engineer in school. So there's a lot of mathematical things going around in his mind at all times, but he didn't talk a lot. But he let me pick out some records, and there are so many records I had never heard before in my life. One was a Erykah Badu record, and I was like, oh, wow, this is beautiful, and it became Didn't You Know? And not only did he let me pick the record, he let me pick the spot in the record and taught me how to sample the portion of the song. Very humble. It wasn't, this is my lab. It was, hey, well, if you like this, you can probably do it. And that's where I got my first sampling lesson from Dilla.
What year was this? Do you remember?
So, since it came out in 2000, it had to be like 98, maybe.
Were you aware of the tracks he'd produced, like the run-in for the Far Side?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you meet this guy. He had quite a reputation back then too. He wasn't known as the easiest guy to work with.
To me, he was, and I think it's almost the kindred spirit of Madlib. They're so serious about what they're doing to the point where they make beats all day long. This is what they do. This is all they do. All day long. Don't even save them. Just put it right to a CD. So they give out these CDs, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, volume 121. And when you pick a track, they don't know where the sample came from. They don't know nothing. It's just a lot of beats. And that could be the difficult part, not knowing where the sample came from. You don't want to get sued, so everybody in the record label is doing research trying to find out where these samples came from, and because this is just what they do. It's all day.
And so you're there in the lab with Dilla.
Yeah.
You pick out a record. You pick out the spot on the record.
Right.
And you make the song there.
Yeah.
You recorded vocals there too?
Yeah.
Did you polish the song up for release elsewhere?
At Electric Ladyland Studio in Manhattan. That's where I polished Mama's Gun. That's Jimi Hendrix studio. And I like Electric Ladyland. They don't even have all the best equipment in the world, but it's just the vibe of it. It's a place to go and work and feel at home. And you could feel the spirit of what was happening there in the 60s and 70s. There's this cat there. His name's Jimmy, and they claim it's the spirit of Jimi Hendrix. And if he likes your music, he'll come in your studio. If he doesn't, he'll come in for a minute and then leave.
How did you fare in that test?
Sometimes he stayed, sometimes he left. Those songs didn't make the album.
Could you play Didn't You Know? Do you have that?
Yeah. So I sampled 2 spots in this record. And live percussion was laid over the sample, and what else did we lay over? Kavasa and shakers and different things.
Wow.
Thank you. I remember this during this time. Dilla is very, very shy. Didn't really talk a lot. He and Madlib, they twins in that kind of way. This is their conversation. Ooh, ooh. Or yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh. You know, so it's and that's all they used to say. So Common and I were dating at the time. And he was so shy, so I would always play this trick on him. Whenever Common would leave the room, I would walk up to him real slow and seductively and be like, now, we're finally alone. You are such a sexy guy. He'd be like, and Common would come in and I would, pretend like I wasn't doing it. And Common knew I was doing it. He would say, don't do that, E. Don't do him like that. Don't do that man like that. But he was real shy. It was funny to me. It tickled me to do that to him. But he was also a very, very sweet and humble person. Generous and giving. Of course, as an artist, when he wants his own space, he wants his own space. His head space. And you have to kind of give him that. He didn't even tell me he was sick, and we were very, very close. I'm known around my community as like the herb lady, the helper, the healer lady, the mama Badu, because it's mostly me and a bunch of guys all the time. And I would talk to him and ask him, I need to come see you. And you know, just hang out and sit down. He'd go, no, because I can't right now because of this, or I can't because of that. But he was really sick. He had lupus. And it had escalated to a point to where he was bedridden. He and Common were roommates at that time. This is after Common and I weren't dating anymore, but we were all still very good friends. And Common didn't even tell me he was sick because Dilla told him not to tell. And I didn't know till the end, really, how sick he was. I knew he had lupus, but didn't know about that. So he was very quiet about it, didn't complain about anything, to the very end, making beats and smoking blunts. And it was very good for his pain. And it was a very surreal moment when you hear J Dilla died. You know, it was... and the most ironic thing was we were all in Los Angeles recording. We had formed a new supergroup, me and Questlove and Wendy and Lisa from Prince's The Revolution, Mike Elizondo who did all the bass lines for Dr. Dre, and a guitar player named Doyle Bromhall, and Jazzy Jeff. We said we're gonna be a supergroup, and we showed up in LA and were hanging out, and we got that call, and it was like, wow. And how we express ourselves is through music, and that day we recorded the song Telephone. Telephone went on my New Amerykah Part I album. And Telephone was based on a story that Dilla's mother told me. She said that Dilla had a dream. No. Dilla would hallucinate often because he was, I don't know if it was morphine or whatever his painkiller was, but he would be talking to someone, but no one was there. And his mom would sit and listen to him talk, and she'd ask him later, who were you talking to? He said, oh, dirty bastard. And ODB had passed maybe a couple of years earlier. She said, well, what were y'all saying? He was telling me which bus to get on when I cross over. Said, don't get on the red bus, get on the white bus. Because the red bus, it looked fun, but that's not the one. Get on the white bus. And this is what Dilla told his mother, and she told me that. And when we were in the studio that night that we heard about his death, his passing, we paid homage to him, resting in beats by writing that song, Telephone. And the telephone says, telephone, it's old dirty. He wants to give you directions home. Said it won't be too long. And so, y'all want to hear that? Let's see. It's here somewhere. I'm not going to cry. Let's see. That's New Amerykah Part I. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Twinkle. Let's do it like this. Oh, there it is.
He wants to give you directions home.
last forever. Just fly away to heaven, brother. Make a place for me, brother. Fly away to heaven, brother. Save a place for me, brother. Fly away to heaven, brother. Put in a word for me.
You know, we kind of jumped around a little bit there. We just jumped into New Amerykah Part I. You'd obviously done quite a bit in the interim between Mama's Gun and the release of that record, which was 2008. Was that a conscious choice? I mean, do you want to talk about that era, the Worldwide Underground? And
That was one of my favorite times of living. 2000, I put out Mama's Gun. 2001 and 2002, I toured the whole time. I never went home. I toured off of the velocity of Mama's Gun. And while I was touring, I had a studio on my bus. And I decided to record while I was touring. And it was called Worldwide Underground because, any city I'd go to, if there was an artist I wanted to work with, they would just jump on the bus and we would, do something. And it was originally supposed to be an EP. And I'm a perfectionist, so this EP just got longer and longer, and the interludes got longer, and got longer and longer. I remember going to Miami, and Lenny Kravitz was in town, and he jumped on the bus and played on this song, Puff. Right around the park till it's after dark. And he played rhythm guitar on that. Zap Mama. Karen Wheeler from Soul to Soul got on the song. Queen Latifah. Bahamadia. That's when we created Frequency. Frequency consisted of 4 producers, myself, Rashad, Tumbling Dice, Ringo Smith, R.C. Williams, and James Poyser. We were collectively Frequency. And that whole album was just kind of demo, kind of underground kind of stuff. And that's why we called it Worldwide Underground. And we really liked it a lot. And so when we put it out, it was an EP, but it was long enough for an album. And I really enjoyed that time, traveling on the bus. And, after every show, I would have first a meet and greet with the audience, and then we would go straight to the bus, ride all night and record and laugh and talk. And it was a great time.
do you have a song that you might want to play from that album?
Worldwide Underground. Sure. Let's see. I Want You is one of my favorite songs from that album. It was a lot of good stuff. The Dead Prez stuff with the grind and Danger. Danger was, I think, was one of my most sinister songs of my career. Love of My Life came from there. I'll play a little bit of Danger first. Who's got this complex occupation?
Accept this call. Say yes after the tone.
Brother's got this complex occupation.
You may not use two-way or three-way
Brother's
calling
got
or this
this
call will be
complex
disconnected.
occupation.
You are connected.
Me and this baby gon' be all night long. Walking this smooth flow until my leg is on. I'm at the front door. I'm listening by the phone, but I'm gon' be here with my makeup on. It's been a long This is Dallas right here.
You know I won't be
Home of the booty song.
because I love him. I go love him strong. Me and this baby gon' be here for all night long. Because I got the block on lock, the trunk stand out. The block on cock, the block stand out. Yeah, yeah. On lock, the trunk stand out. Block on cock, the block stand out.
Thank you. This might be the longest intro in history. It's 45 it. Thanks. I'm shy.
Why such a long time between the release of Worldwide Underground and New Amerykah Part I?
Let me see. Worldwide Underground came out in when? 2003. Oh, because I had some babies. Those are my projects, you know. And I actually toured from 2003 to 2005, and I started in 2006 working on New Amerykah's Part 1 and 2.
You also
And I was breastfeeding and pushing baby strollers and homeschooling and wiping tears, putting calamine lotion on poison ivy, you know.
How many children do you have?
3.
And you're still able to keep up this intense schedule?
Yeah, I
Through
have
and
a lot. I
throughout.
have a lot of help. You know, really good help. My mom, my grandmothers, and a really good friend of mine, Sheikah, who my kids really love a lot. They're in Dallas with her right now. This is like the first time in my life that I have left my children at home. My youngest is 2. She just stopped breastfeeding a few months ago. This is the first time in my whole music career that I've traveled and I did not have a child with me. So, yeah, this is, I've never experienced it like this before. So I don't know what to do by myself, you know. It's a weird feeling, you know.
So in between the release of Worldwide Underground and the starting of the process to record New Amerykah Part I, things changed at Motown, right? You stopped, well, maybe you didn't stop working with Kedar, but there was...
Yeah, Kedar was gone by then. Sylvia Rohn came in, the legendary Sylvia Rohn. She's the lone woman in this industry who has headed record labels, black woman. So she's a legend in our industry. She has a marketing background where a lot of times the label presidents have A&R backgrounds or musical backgrounds. She had a more marketing, promotional background. And that was her lane, you know. By the time I started New Amerykah Part 1 and 2, I didn't even know if she had ever heard any of my music or anything. You know, we hadn't really met. And I was still using the same formula, you know, do the records wherever I am and turn it in when I'm done. And I think that was okay with her. You know, I wasn't sure, but that's just what it was. And it was totally different when I did these last 2 albums, New Amerykah Part 1 and 2, because I did it at home in my bed from the laptop on GarageBand, because I was so involved in my children's school and other things that I really love that I wasn't leaving the house at all. So Quest and Madlib and Dilla and Kareem Riggins, S1 from Strange Fruit, they were sending me MP3s. And I would record it into my telephone's answer machine. And my son told me, well, Mom, they got this thing called GarageBand. You can just multi-track it if you want to. I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing that, and one song turned into 50, 50 turned into 100, 100 turned into 200 songs, and I would do this all day, every day, writing songs, take it to different frequencies, get in the shower and do it, because I didn't have a mic. I was just singing right into the mic of the computer. I hadn't gotten that high tech yet. I'm an analog girl. I was just impressed with that, and just the different vocal effects and sound effects, I would use them and started experimenting with those things. At that time, I met Mike Chavaria. J Electronica introduced me to him, an engineer who's really incredible, who's doing some really incredible things with the tracks and with my voice. And it was just where I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to be in hyperspace, but I still wanted it to be have an analog feel, but I wanted it to be in hyperspace. And Mike Schaff helped me take it there. I would just email him the track I did in GarageBand, and he would tweak it in the studio, and all the imperfections and the distortion and mic distortion and wrong preamps and everything I was doing, he just kept it like that and added his stuff to it. And that's how New Amerykah's Part 1 and 2 were born. I split it into 2 parts because it was way too long for a 58-minute CD. 57-minute, or whatever it is. And I just had so much to say, and I wanted to say it all. And so we split into 2 parts and released it, you know, some time apart.
You had said earlier on that when you met Dilla, you went out to Detroit not knowing if you guys were going to connect musically and spiritually, but, you know, if you met up with him, there was a good chance you'd have a new friend, even if it didn't work out musically.
Right.
Was this one of the only times in which you didn't actually meet your collaborators and you were just given their music out of context? Or did you meet them all?
Oh, yeah, I know them all.
You met them all prior to them sending the music to you?
Oh, yeah.
Ninth Wonder,
Definitely.
Sa Ra.
We're all crate diggers. You know, we're all DJs. We're all, well, I'm not, but they are music historians. And they all play instruments. And we all have similar taste in music, and at the same time, we bring new things. And the joy of, I remember the joy of iChat was sending somebody an MP3 that they had never heard before. You know, we called it treats. Like, I'm gonna send you a treat, you know. And what we would do is they had created this turntable that you could put into the computer. So we would just get random records and turn them into MP3s and send them to each other, send treats. And that's how our relationship got started a lot, you know.
And there must have been a certain amount of trust given because you were altering their music after they'd sent it to you, creating something and sending it back, basically.
They didn't care, you know. They, I think by that time, they trusted, you know, my taste or what I wanted to do, you know. So they were okay with that.
To go back to when you first started working with Dilla, to me at least, and I'm sure quite a few people who heard he did a few tracks on Mama's Gun, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. It was a big leap for someone like Dilla, who was, you know, known as, you know, the hip hop guy, hip hop producer. But here he was producing for you, stretching out quite a bit. And it seemed as if, you know, he kind of came into his own in a lot of ways, making those beats, and they were on a very successful record.
What's funny is, like, the beats Dilla does they're strictly mathematical. They're just right out of his consciousness, but none of the stuff he's done for me sounds like any of that because it was a collaboration. He allowed me to be a part of it. So this doesn't sound like anything on Donuts or anything that you're used to hearing, the drums and the laziness of the snare and the live feel of the hi-hat, you know, and those things. It was the kind of stuff I liked, and he was gracious enough to allow me to be a part of it. And yeah.
Did you feel the same way working with this crop of producers on New America?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, just to use an example, The Healer. Mm-hmm. You were talking about how many beats Madlib makes. Yes. So we're all very aware of the tremendous amount he makes and the kind of free form with which he makes them.
400 a month, you know.
So he makes a great variety.
Yeah.
And you picked this very minimalist, stripped-down track, the likes of which I don't think many of his collaborators would have picked, and all of a sudden it's a single on Universal Motown. Yeah. That blew my mind.
Did it?
Yeah. I'm sure it blew his mind, too. I mean, you know, the fact that was...
He just said, ooh. That's going to be ooh. You know.
You do good impersonations. You did Dilla, Common, and Madlib within 30 seconds, and it worked. Do you want to play that track, The Healer? Have you guys heard that track?
Yeah, that's the joint.
Banging
that's the
track
anthem.
Right there.
Let's take it off 45.
Coming to you loud and clear. Like the range of the motherfucker.
Thank you.
That's a gutsy song for a lot of reasons, at least to me. I mean, first of all, it was a great departure from the music that came before, at least on the surface. And you released it on Universal Motown with a producer who, of course, most people that were buying records on Universal Motown probably weren't familiar with. And you're saying that hip-hop is bigger than religion and hip-hop is bigger than the government, and dedicating the song to Dilla. That was a very moving moment for me. I'm sure a lot of other people, too, who felt as if, you know, we'd found a champion for a new generation. And that wasn't just because, you know, I work with Madlib. It's because people like Sarah and Georgia and Ninth Wonder and everybody, you know, they'd been pigeonholed in a lot of ways. And here you were saying to the masses, well, I believe in you. And, you know, I believe in this thing which you guys do. So much so that I'm going to say it on wax, and I'm going to put this record out as I believe. Am I reading too far into it, or?
I don't know. That sound right? No, that sounds right. You know, it's just what I like, you know, and as my taste evolves, as I get introduced to more and more things, I understand more things, and lyrically, musically, sonically, the whole thing. Take more chances, evolving. You know, I think that's the main focus of who I am as an individual person. I think evolving is very important for me, you know, because that's why I do it. I don't do it to sell records or to have the #1 hot 99-cent single. You know, it's a movement for me. And, yeah.
Sylvia Rowan had your back, though.
Yeah, she tried to, you know, but 90, when it come out, 2008, one came out 2010, that was the beginning of the decline. Everything crashed, you know. She tried to, but though I'm an analog girl, I maneuver around the digital world very, very well. So I just started shooting a video for every song that I had, from Baduizm to New Amerykah Part I, and just keeping it out there, keeping myself motivated, keeping my fan base entertained, my cult following moving, keeping people interested, because I thought what we were doing was very important. And wherever they couldn't support us, we had our own machine in place. And that's the way I move now, you know. Whenever I decide to put out a video, I put it out no matter what album it is, because it's all relevant. I think music is timeless, you know. It shouldn't have a shelf life or a this life or a deadline, or, you know, it's about the lifeline for me. So whenever I want to bring something back to life, put a visual to it and put it out for people to enjoy it. It gives it another face, another turn, you know. That's what I did with Sylvia. That was the window seat video. That was all guerrilla shooting, all of that kind of stuff. We just, you know, did whatever we wanted and put it out. We didn't go through Motown to do any of that stuff. We didn't wait for somebody to say no. We just did what we felt was right with our music. Yeah.
What did she say after you were on every nightly news broadcast in America after the video first came out?
Honestly, can I be honest? Should I? I didn't ever get another video budget after that. I don't know why. But I've had to put out all of my own stuff, guerrilla style, with a Nikon 5D. And that's what I've been doing since then.
Well, on the second part of New Amerykah, you dug so far back into the analog crates that you had to take a Dilla beat off of a cassette, which is the only way in which it existed.
Yes.
And then to go back to something you talked about very early on, go through what must have been an incredibly frustrating process, trying to negotiate the release of the music, find the sample, all that.
Yeah. It was frustrating for somebody, but, you know, I didn't care. I wasn't taking no. You know, you're going to find it, we're going to put it out because this has to happen. And it did. You know, we found it. One of the samples I had to get cleared via Twitter. You know, they claimed they couldn't find Paul McCartney. I think they just didn't want to pay for the sample. But this new kid from LA named Tarak did a beat, thank you, to using one of Paul McCartney's samples. I don't remember what the name of the song was. But that became Don't Be Long, which the visual was directed by Flying Lotus. That's how we met. Flying Lotus took the song and put a visual to it. I showed up at his studio one day as a guest in Bilal's video, Levels. And he said, well, just change clothes and let's just shoot on green screen some stuff. And we did, and then he put that out, Don't Be Long. And
Flying Lotus, who came through this academy as a participant.
yeah,
And are you really working on an album with him?
yes.
It seems like this entire process, this expansion of the tribe, none of it's calculated. It just happens naturally, and if something fits, it fits.
Right. Yeah.
But Flying Lotus makes music that's far different than everything we've heard prior.
Not really. I mean, it's all the same elements. He just freaks them a lot differently. You know, his airspace is just a little higher, you know, frequency-wise, faster, more percussive, lots more percussive, more drums. And he does what Dilla and Madlib do, takes voices and trumpets and voices and samples of things and turns them into instruments. And that's what I love a lot. That's what I really want to learn to do as a producer, turning these samples into instruments to the point where you don't even know what sample it is. You know, you don't know where it came from. But no, me and Lotus, we two peas in a pie. We feel the same way. His aunt is Alice Coltrane, the wife of the late John Coltrane. She also passed away. So he has a very jazz influence, you know, but it comes out like that. You know, he colors it like that. I have a couple of tracks from our album. I can only play like a little bit, though.
I think we'd love to hear them.
Okay. Let me see. Hope I don't get in trouble. The real rough versions. I don't even see them. Let me see. They're not even coming up, so yeah. I can only play them from iTunes, so. But it's real interesting how we mix together. I'm a blues singer, and I just sing blues over different kinds of music. I don't know what he's considered, what his music is considered. It's a techno, it's house, it's funk, it's abstract, you know. But once we got together, I didn't know what we were gonna do. You know, like I hope this works, and just hanging out with him and just as a person gives us a really good idea of what we can do together. You know, once you have a lot in common as people, you kind of figure around all the other stuff, the genres and titles of kinds of music and all that kind of stuff. So we got some really good stuff. And Thundercat plays on everything that Lotus does. So Thundercat's been my bass player in my band for the past 6 years. And that frequency I'm already very familiar with. So it was easy.
You call yourself a blues singer.
Yes. Yes,
Why?
I am.
And interesting, you mentioned Muddy Waters earlier. Sometime midway through his career, the people at Cadet, actually Cadet Concept, which was the spin-off label, decided it'd be a great idea for Muddy Waters to do, his blues over, kind of like psychedelic rock music. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, he created a couple of incredible albums, which, he hated.
Jimi Hendrix is a blues singer, too. Eric Clapton's a blues singer.
So with you, not pigeonholing yourself into any kind of genre, you're creating this music which we can't easily describe. Yet in doing so, you're, how do I put this? You're saying to everybody that's coming up trying to make music, hey, you know what? You can, at least to me, you can make a whole bunch of money putting out music. You can become known for one style of music, and you can flip it up yourself. Someone doesn't need to tell you to flip it up. You can flip it up yourself. No one told you to collaborate with Madlib. No one told you to collaborate with Ninth Wonder, Flying Lotus. Maybe there were suggestions. Someone said, hey, listen to this. But you made the choices all yourself, and I find you very unique in that regard. Will this new record that you're doing with Lotus come out through Universal?
We don't know that yet. We're just still working on the music right now. The industry is in such a state where it's almost, you don't know, We might put it out on our own label, because we have a whole new way of selling music now,
What's Control Freak Records?
That's my record label.
And this is the label that produced the new Amerykah albums?
Yeah.
And distributed through Universal?
Yeah.
So there's the possibility that you might put it out through that?
Yes.
Why Control Freak?
Freak is spelled F-R-E-A-Q. And when you can control the frequency of the music, you can, you have a lot more control over the sheep or the people and the way they think, the way they feel. And because we are in such a programmed state where programmers play the same 6 songs all the time, that's kind of why I named it Control Freak. We're controlling our own frequency. We're deciding what's in the airwaves, what the music sounds like, what it looks like, what it feels like.
And the radio play that you referred to that broke through your first songs, you hinted to yourself, it's almost irrelevant at this point. You can do whatever you want.
Say it again.
If you put together a record with Flying Lotus, it's not as if you'd expect the radio stations that are still standing that were playing On and On to play a record like that. They might not, but it wouldn't matter, would it?
They might not, but there's so many ways to get the music out. I'm a touring artist. I tour for most of my career. I tour more than I record. That if they come and they'll hear it, if they're checking for us, they'll hear it. We have our own social networks, our Facebooks and Twitters and those networks. Those are huge networks. And when we go to labels now, we coming with a whole network. We're not just coming as an artist and a brand. We're coming with a network, a following, a tribe of people who are already in place. And if a label cannot pacify the needs of the artists in this day and age who are coming with a network, then we don't need them. There's no need for them.
Well, it seems like your network is pretty strong because when Sylvia departed from Universal Motown, if I remember correctly in the early hours, it was a tweet that you sent that major news organizations were covering more than anything. You said Universal Motown had folded.
I just said Motown folded. I thought everybody knew though, because I don't keep up with what's going on in the news. I got a email from an attorney up there, describing what was happening, and all I heard was Motown folded, and so I just tweeted that because I thought it was no news, but I didn't know. Then they started denying it, and but Motown, I think they were going to become a catalog label, playing all the old Motown things, including even the late 90s stuff. Just a catalog label. And they can make plenty of money off that because there's a lot of good music. Motown is a legendary label. But I think they want to resurrect the modern Motown. I'm not really sure what it is that's happening right now, so I don't want to say the wrong thing again.
But did that instance make you think about your influence and how quickly something you say or do is picked up on? I mean, that and the video we were talking about.
Yeah. I kind of know that I'm on the FBI list, so I'm careful with the things I say and project to people when I'm on there, and at the same time, during PMS, I just express myself. So, Twitter is picked up by the Library of Congress, and it's history from now until the end of time. So, a lot of artists on there are under the radar, especially on those gossip blogs, because they'll taste blood and go for the jugular. Anything you tweet, they'll turn it into something. I remember one time Solange said that she had too much NyQuil and passed out at the airport, but they said something about she overdosed or, they just make it into, it's entertainment now. Our lives is entertainment to them. It's funny. It's, so yeah, I pay attention to it. And I think at one time we even timed to see how fast something would go onto the blogs. Yeah.
So in the same regard, do you think about the platform that you're giving to up-and-coming producers that you work with, that you collaborate with?
What do you mean?
You could work with any producer you want, yet you choose to give an opportunity to up-and-coming producers.
I don't think I'm giving an opportunity to them. I think it's just what I like. And no matter how famous or not famous, it's just what I really genuinely like. And that never really mattered to me, how many hits they had out or anything. It's just what I like, what feels good to me, what I can write a song to. It's generally what I like.
And it just so happens that the people on the other side of that reap great rewards.
Yeah, sometimes, depending on the budget. Yeah. And I'm sure there are other rewards too, But the reward is mine, really. I feel honored. Madlib, he's a legend. Dilla, Kareem Riggins, these guys are very, very brilliant musicians. A lot of times they're not the top of the list, as far as hit makers, because people don't really relate to it because it doesn't sound like what everything else sounds like on the radio. It doesn't fit the cookie cutter format, but it's dope to me. It's ill, it's good music. Very good music with a very good understanding for what music is, no matter what instrument they're working with,
Interesting you say that about Kareem Riggins, and sometimes I hear people use the word legend lightly, but you do refer to him, and how many people here know Kareem Riggins, the drummer? Yeah, this is a legendary cat, and probably most people who know of his legend would know of it as a drummer and a jazz drummer at that, whereas
right.
He does numerous styles, and you gave him the opportunity to produce on New Amerykah Part I.
I call him the clean Dilla. Dilla is very dirty, and the frequency is a certain There's a certain bottom velocity to it. Kareem has that same thing, but it's real clean and neat. And he dresses so neat. You know, he's just a really neat guy. And the tracks are really, really wonderful. You know, he did Soldier on New Amerykah Part I. Fall in Love on New Amerykah Part II.
Will you continue to release records, actually release albums? Might you give them away for free? You know, we've talked throughout this hour and a half about how the industry has changed. I get the feeling, maybe I'm wrong, that the process of creating an album has been the same for you, regardless of whether it went on to sell millions or hundreds of thousands or whatever. But will you continue to record, release albums, or might things change?
Yeah, I mean, and to me, an album is not just about the music. It's also about the artwork and the liner notes and the lyrics and the whole package. That's what I grew up seeing. There was no video. You just saw the album cover, and you looking at this picture of the band Come Function. That's all you know is this picture. And those things, those elements are very important because it's a project. It's not just for the singles or for the hits or what radio gravitates toward. It's a project. It's a place in a person's life where they are at the time. You know, if my children had to tell somebody who their mother was, I would hope that they could give them a mama's gun. This is my mom, or New Amerykah. You know, this is who she is and who she was.
So you actually want to create the artifact, the album, a 12-inch single, something like that.
12-inch single?
Well, like to go back to New Amerykah Part I. If I recall correctly, there was a gatefold 12-inch single released ahead of the album.
Yeah, we did a few of those. And some Serato flip sides and things, you know, because DJ is the pioneer of hip hop. You know, that's the conductor, you know. So a lot of things I do are for the DJs. When I mix things, I make sure that bottom is real heavy, so it knocks in the club, you know, and those things, because that's where the people feel it and get it, you know, for the most part.
From my vantage point, when I saw the 12-inch, the gatefold 12-inch come through for New Amerykah Part I, it seemed as if it was a bigger statement than that. It seemed as if in an era where music is freely distributed and people not only don't care about liner notes and only care about artwork in thumbnail form, here you were giving away, giving away music in the most archaic form that our generation knows, the LP form. But it was a very beautiful looking record, and it felt good. And it seemed as if, like I said, it was a bigger statement than just this would look nice in a DJ's record bag.
I work with very talented artists I've been working with for the past 7-8 years. Are y'all hot?
Told you it gets hot in here.
Yeah. Thank you for hanging out, though. Past 7 to 8 years, his name is Emick. Emick is, they call him the thinking man's artist. He did the painting for New Amerykah Part I, Part II, The Healer, every poster I have for every show. If you Google Emick, you can go to his site and see his work. His work is traditionally silkscreen posters, rock posters. And I like that feel because that's what I remember seeing, you know. That goes along with the music. You got to have a good piece of art, you know. And he's really great. And he finishes my sentences visually.
You're going to perform here in Madrid, and there's two former Academy participants that are going to open for you. They're the and friends of Erykah Badu and Friends in this incarnation. How did
Jamie?
Yeah, and Hudson Mohawk. How did you pick them? How did that come about?
I didn't pick them. Did I pick them, Paul? I just like them, and it just happened to. Did I pick them? Okay, I picked them. I told Paul who I liked, and he told the Academy, and they picked him.
Worked
Who
well.
I was feeling at the time. Yeah.
Interesting that they both, were sitting on chairs, not so fluorescent maybe, at a previous academy,
Yeah.
and now they're going to be performing with you on stage in Madrid.
Red Bull got good taste. That's not a commercial.
Well, we could open up to questions at this point, I think. I'm sure there's quite a few. There's going to be a microphone being passed around.
Hi. So I had a question about it had to do with JD, and I was just wondering. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of cassettes and CDs still left with like enormous amount of beats that people have never heard. Are you like occasionally going back to those beats and just checking them and writing stuff on that?
Yeah, all the time. I write in the car. Like I'll put the CD or plug the MP3 player in and ride around and sing and write too. And I use those all the time.
So basically, if you like every time you start a new album, is that like a traditional thing to do to check out JD beats?
That's the process, just start. And some things I've written, I wrote it to the JD beat and it somewhere else now, But it's always a good template, a good bed, Dilla beats.
Are there any other producers like Dilla or Madlib? They're like part of the
Yeah.
standard.
Ninth Wonder, S1, Q-Tip, R.C. Williams, Jawborn, all of the same people from Baduizm to now. I mean, I love their evolution. I love how they're evolving, and we seem to be evolving together. And new producers too. 40, I like 40 a lot. Drake's producer. Hudson, Mohawk. It's a lot of people. Jay Electronica got the heat too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then I have one more question about, if I'm not mistaken, you did a song with Lil Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? I mean, that's not the most logical thing you would expect from two artists. Looking at the genre, I'm not trying to place nobody in a corner, but how did that happen?
We think alike. I think he's really creative, extraordinarily talented and fearless. He had a song called A Milli, A Milli, A Milli. And in the song, he said, Andre 3000, where is Erykah Badu at? So here I am.
Cool.
And I picked a track, Jump Up in the Air and Stay There. And who did that track? Frequency did that track. And I asked him to be on it. And he did.
And just like that, he just
Yeah,
said
because he's
yes.
cold. His rhyme, it was incredible. I love beats and rhymes. I love emceeing. I love verses, good verses. In his verse, he said, the name of the song is Jump Up in the Air and Stay There. In his verse, he said, I am on the ceiling stuck like a handful of dust, like a fistful of bucks. I'm spinning like crazy. Is that what he said? I am on the ceiling stuck like a fan full of dust, like a handful of bucks. I'm spinning like crazy. Yeah, he's just really incredible, the words he uses. And he comes up with it like right then and there. He doesn't write on paper. He goes into the booth and then he comes out and he's done. And it's done. And it refers to the song, too. So, it's not like some pre-written stuff he has. He's an incredible artist. Super, super talented. Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be getting this much bad press. That's how you know you're real good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, earlier on you were talking children just as your career kick-started in the same year. There's going to be a lot of girls watching this on the internet, and what advice can you offer them? What problems did you encounter trying to do both simultaneously? Because it's still quite an issue for a lot of women in music. And what advice can you offer?
Advice to women who, I mean, it's just what we are. It's who we are and what we do. And, you know, I started having babies at 27 years old. Sometimes they say when you're a career woman, you start late having children because of the ambition in college and all these things. It's just what we do, and it just becomes a part of it, you know.
And you don't, out as you go along.
Yeah, you know, follow your heart. You don't miss a beat, really. You know, they become part of what it is. You know, my children grew up on the road, and home for them is wherever I am. You know, and it's easy, you know. They got their little bunks on the bus, and I homeschool them. They got these school books, and we cook food on the bus, and after the show, they try to stay up, and we sing and play, and, you know, that little one, you know, has to be disciplined a little bit more. She's 2. She's rough. That's Jay Electronica's daughter. That's 3rd Ward, New Orleans. But it just becomes a part of it. And, you know, if you decide to have a baby, it doesn't interfere with your career at all. It just, if anything, it becomes an enhancement. Because if it enhances your life, and your music is your life, it definitely enhances the music. And help comes, you know, no matter how much money you have, or, you know, it's easy. It's really easy, especially when you like your kids. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I follow that up with just a quick question that touches upon something you said earlier? Actually, 2 different things said at different times. But you were talking about when Dilla got sick and how you have found yourself working with a lot of guys, and you said something like Mama Badu or something like that. Have you, and this goes back to this the story you're telling about Dilla and Common leaving the room, and, you know, you putting, you know, Dilla off a little bit by basically putting him off his sure footing for a moment. He didn't know what to expect. Have you had to work hard to work amongst all these men who accept you not as there's Erykah, she's a woman? It's not like that. At least I've never felt that with the people I know that work with you. It's just a continuum that doesn't have to do with gender. Yet you just told a story in which, you know, you put this guy Dilla
But that
off.
only works for Dilla, though.
Okay.
Because he's not going to do nothing. You can't do that with everybody, with all the dudes.
So it's not awkward. That there was no there were no moments where you felt you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
No, because I've been a chain monogamous person my whole career. You know, long relationships with one partner. And generally the one partner is like a marriage, and we have a child, and we have a home, and we have a commitment, and there are a lot of things sacred, and, you know, I'm committed to that relationship. My whole career, I've been in relationships. So there's really no room. And the people around me are my brothers, and they respect it. And I work with my lovers in their careers, and they work with me in their careers. And it's always been that way. You know, so I've never been single, you know, where there was an opportunity for someone to, you know, be attracted to me or me to them. Or, you know, I've always been somebody's wifey. You know, and that's how it works out, I guess, with that.
Anyone else?
I wanted to ask about your transition into DJing. Is this something you've been doing for a long time? Is it just kind of natural, or one day you kind of woke up and was like, I'm going to start, you know, doing shows as a DJ?
I've been doing them after a lot of shows, but it's just getting a lot of press now. So once one media outlet starts to say it, then it's the new news. But this is just something I've always done, though. I started DJing when I was in high school. I always loved the stuff that the guys did. So I would always hang around and learn and watch and, figure it out because I'm moved by beats. I'm moved by mixing and DJing and scratching and producing and the hi-hat and the snare and quantizing. And it's fascinating to me, and it comes really natural to me, as a drummer, as a percussionist.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Torsten?
Erykah, where do you draw your inspirations from? I mean, your life gives you inspiration, but do you do anything extra or something that you want to do, or you get my drift, right? Yeah. So something that you do to get more inspiration, any place you visit, or any friends that you would go out and talk to, have a spiritual conversation with, or things like those?
Yeah, I mean, I get inspiration from everything, Fred Flintstone, the Carol Burnett show, an argument, a broken heart. It all inspires me because my music is my therapy, and it's a means for me to express how I feel immediately, So yeah, I'm inspired by a lot of things. Thank you.
Torsten?
Hello.
Hello.
I wondered, I guess every artist just likes to touch other people's life. And what does it feel like when you can know pretty safely that wherever you go in the world, you enter a room like this one, and it's pretty safe to say that about every person in the room has been there at the moment when your music was very present in a very personal or intimate surrounding.
What was the question?
Well, the question basically was, everyone likes to touch other people's life. And I mean, when you walk into a room like that, wherever you go in the world, yeah, I've been in their life before. I'm probably in a very private situation.
What was the question?
The question is how does that make you feel?
Oh, good. It makes me feel good, that I can sometimes be a person's voice, or sometimes be that relatable thing that helps them solve some problem or evolve or get angry or whatever they need to do. That makes me feel good because that's what the music I listen to did for me. And if it's doing that, then that's kind of good, It's creating some kind of energy, creating some movement in people. That's good.
Hi.
Hi.
Big fan.
Thank you.
You said music is timeless. Yes, yet, however, every time you make an album, there's loads of innovation. It's extremely related to current ongoing trends on different music scenes and really twisted up in your own way. And I'm very, very grateful for that. But I'm just asking this out of curiosity because I struggle with this question myself. Why are you changing and evolving and creating new stuff, sound-wise and artistically? What is it that drives you forward to create a new Erykah Badu every time you make an album somehow?
I think because that's where I am. I don't know what it is that's driving us. to do that. But it's definitely something. I desire to evolve in every part of my life. I just desire that, and then it comes naturally, you know. I don't think anybody is in the same place they were in 1997 in this room. Some of you probably weren't even born. But, you know, the earth is changing, the world is changing, the weather is changing, people's emotions are changing. The time is more urgent, you know. Everything is changing. And it's quite natural to me to evolve with that. You know, what the people need, you know, I need it too, you know, so. That's a good question, thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
We're talking about music all the time, but how often do you seek for silence, actually?
I listen a lot more than I record.
Can we have some together now?
Some what?
Silence.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
How do you feel about remixing thing? Other producers remixing your music, or how that works?
I think that's cool.
But how that works? Someone has to approach you?
No. They can do whatever they want. Once I do the music, it doesn't belong to me anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it belongs to the world, and however they want to interpret it or change it, it doesn't bother. I like it. You know, it's a different take or a different face that the music has. You know, it's cool.
Okay, thank you.
I think J. Cole sampled "Didn't You Know" on his. That was great. That's when I knew how old I was, really, like. Because people don't sample your music when you're new, you know. So I thought it was real cool that he did that. And he reached out to me afterwards, too. You know, see how I felt about it. It was great. It's a good feeling, you know, that, because there's probably a generation of people who've never heard that Dilla and Badu collaboration, or know what that means or what it feels like. And he gave people opportunity to hear that. So I think that's cool. Real cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want some more silence. No, go ahead.
I'm just curious about like your writing process. Like, does it come really naturally, or like maybe does it take you like a week? Or I'm just wondering how quickly like a song comes to you.
Sometimes it's like an MC where I'm freestyling on stage and they record, like Tyrone, that was just made up right then. And it was a joke, it was funny to me. And sometimes it takes 17 months to get an idea across, you know, because a lot of songs that I write, I don't know how to sing it. I know how it's supposed to sound though, but I don't know how to sing it, breathe through the melody. You know, it just doesn't sound right with my voice. So I have to wait until my voice and breathing matures to a point where I can actually get the point across. You know, sometimes it takes a long time, years.
So sometimes like the melody comes before the words, or vice versa.
The melody always comes first. This is the order: music, melody, rhythm, words. So music, bed, then melody, la, 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 la. Then the rhythm of that, la, then I figure out, I decode what I'm trying to say. Whatever words fit in there, that's what I go with.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hiya.
Hey.
So, throughout your career, you've worked with some of the greatest producers that have either lived or still alive, and some of the best musicians. And I suppose it's kind of a gimmicky question, but I'd be curious to know, irrelevant of decade or whether you've even set foot in the room with them, who would be like your dream performance in terms of, for example, Bootsy on bass and, I don't know, Quest on drums and Michael McDonald on backing vocals or something?
Right.
It's a tricky one. I mean, it's like, what would your last meal be, you know?
Right. Elmo soup. Maybe Bernard Purdy on the drums, and Oscar Peterson on the piano, Ron Carter on the upright bass, and Funk Brothers on the tambourine from Motown. It was all about the tambourine in the Motown era. And I named those artists because they all, you know how Dilla produced? They play like that. They all lay back like that. And it's a very, that would probably be a really interesting.
Dilla on the desk.
Real interesting. Say it again.
Dilla on the desk.
Dilla on the desk.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just to interject something real quickly before we jump over there, just, you know, he was talking about like a dream team of folks, and you had mentioned earlier you'd assembled like a dream team of musicians. I remember in Electric Lady Studios during the recordings for Common's Electric Circus album. Yeah. I remember the vibe of you, Common, Dilla, Quest, James Poyser, and of all people, Alan Leeds, James Brown's old road manager, and Russ Elevato, of course, who has lectured here at the Academy. And, you know, I think back over, you know, the crazy environments I found myself in over the past, 13, 14 years. And that was one of them because that was a dream team. Yeah, I didn't see him. He was probably there or maybe, who knows? I didn't see him, but damn, that would have even made it crazier. Talk about a dream team of people, and that was a natural assembly. Wow.
Yeah, it was great. But, we didn't see us as that. We were trying to eat. It was just, it felt good together. And that's one of the most incredible albums I've ever heard.
The Common album?
Yeah, the Electric Circus album. Musically, it could just be an instrumental album. It's a journey. It's really incredible. I had fun being a part of that.
You sang on the Jimmy Was a Rock Star?
I wrote that song.
You wrote that?
I wrote that. Yes. In Dallas. Common came to Dallas, and we sat in like a little hole in the wall studio and wrote that. And he already had a lot of words and metaphors and things he wanted to use, but he didn't consider himself a singer, and he was told wrong. Like I said, no melodyne or no voice correction or anything. He sung the bottom and I sung the top, and he sounded really good. It sounded really good. It was interesting. It really was.
To go back to your point there, if I remember that session correctly, Dilla wasn't on the desk, but he was playing cassettes in Electric Lady. How crazy is that?
That's.
Maybe it was a DAT. That would make more sense. And he played Silver Apples, and that kick-started the vibe for that song.
Yeah.
And so Dilla was certainly part of the dream team in that session, man.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Bless you. Yeah.
Sorry, we had in the back there.
Hey.
Hey.
You've had a couple children with musicians. Are any
Three.
of them three? Are any of them into music, and if so, what form?
Yeah, they all are. I mean, it's all I know. They're a captive audience. Seven plays the bass. Puma plays piano. Mars can play any kind of percussion. She's 2 years old, and her rhythm is impeccable. She's really good. They all naturally have that kind of groove. The Hip Hop Incredibles. I'm gonna put them out. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do, but they have that part of them, really natural too, not forced at all. Just a very natural thing that they have, and they enjoy, playing around with that right now. They're very young now, 14, 7, and 2. So, we just don't know what's going to happen.
Can I ask one more thing that goes back to something you were talking about earlier, the Central Forest Theater in South Dallas? Are you still working as a steward of that theater?
No, I have a nonprofit organization called Blind. Blind, that's a good name for it for many reasons, because I spent all of my money, all of mine, Puma's and Seven's money, in 5 years, putting it into this theater, into this nonprofit organization. When I say all of it, I mean all of it. And I really didn't understand how you could use corporate sponsorship and those kinds of things at that time. I was just really, I wanted it to happen now. I wanted the community to have a community center right now. I wanted to have dance classes today, drumming and capoeira and, DJing and producing. I wanted them to have it then, because my community that I grew up in was dilapidating right before my eyes. Crack and drugs and liquor stores and prostitution. It was just a really bad thing to see. And but those children still had life, and I wanted them to feel it. But no, I don't have it right now. I had to reboot, but you ain't no boss till you take a loss. So next year I'm going to start again with a little bit more help and a few more years wiser. We still have the organization, but just don't have that building. The building we talked about earlier is a historic landmark in Dallas where all the musicians will come play, the Central Forest Theater in Dallas. But we have a DJ camp. When is the DJ camp, A1, When school starts, I think next year, January. A DJ camp and a producing camp where children are going to learn how to DJ and produce using the MP. And A1 is one of the instructors, and we have a lot of master teachers, Jazzy Jeff, and different people are going to come through and, teach the children and young adults how to DJ as a means of survival, because they need it. We still do stuff, but we don't have the theater anymore, unfortunately. But one day, because it sits dilapidated right now. There's nobody in there. It's boarded up. It's just nobody's using it. It would seem like the city would just want it to be utilized, as a...
Just a historic building that served the community, not just in putting on shows.
Yeah.
But I was really inspired when I found out that you were undertaken to attempt to preserve it, because you'd done so quietly, and it obviously put so much effort and energy and your spirit into it. Yeah.
It's
I
still
hope it works
there.
out.
I still see the remnants of what it is. And we had a marquee, and that was like, we were so proud of that marquee, because we were able to just put messages up on the marquee in the community, and I think one of the messages that made the newspaper was, they bring drugs into our community and something, all for some rims. I don't remember what it was, but it was one of the volunteers, because they would just change it every week. And it was just so important to the community to see that, as they're passing through work, don't give up, or just, just anything, and it was, I think that was maybe more helpful than anything, just those mantras. Yeah.
Anyone else before we wrap?
Could you speak about how, two-part question, how Honey came about, and then how Ninth Wonder fits into the legacy of what we were talking about with Dilla and Madlib?
Yeah. Ninth Wonder was one of my homies that was sending me MP3s via iChat. And he sent me that, Marlena's Smile. He sent me the Wonder Years, like a lot of different tracks. And I gravitated toward Honey. And I just started writing to it in GarageBand. And he's one of those people too. He's one of those beatsmiths that is a DJ, is a crate digger, is a historian, is a scientist in what he does. And I can feel it in the music. I can hear it in the music. Puts a lot of care into it. And I like it, you know. And I called Ninth Wonder and told him I found the track. And he was like, cool. And I said, I think I want this to be my first single, too. He was like, super cool. And when I was writing the song Honey, I was generally at the same time as I write the songs, I write the video treatment because I can see it in my mind, what I want the people to see or feel. And Ninth was in the studio with me, Ike Turner and me. No, you got to sing it from your gut. Let's do it again. And I don't like it. Let's go home and start over, you know. And I like that, you know, when a producer is able to really get involved. And he's one of those people that is able to really get involved and make sure that the song turns out the way he hears it, too. So that's my buddy. My buddy.
Well, just really quickly to follow up with that, how did the last record you did over Dilla's music measure up to the ones that you did prior while he was alive? I mean, obviously you didn't have his input on Love, whereas with all the music you recorded prior, I'm assuming that it was a very close collaboration.
Oh, but I did. I did have his input. I felt it really a lot, you know. And listening to old Slum albums, Dilla is also incredible MC. Just listening to how he flows over songs, I tried to flow the way he would flow over the song. And yeah, I really don't compare the song, any of the songs, because it's just, you know, it's a feeling. It's how you're feeling. So it's like not a right or wrong or a better or worse. It's just what it is. It's just a feeling. And I always liked that track, you know, since the 90s, you know. And I just decided to put it on New Amerykah Part II because it fit in with the rest of the stuff, you know, sequence-wise. That's how a song makes the album, by the way. It has to fit into the sequence and be the same kind of feeling and the same kind of message. And, you know, I like putting albums together, not just a collection of songs. You know, it has to be a feel or a piece. Yeah. So.
I just have a quick question. You started off listening to Brown Sugar.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just wondering, like, there was Voodoo, which was, like, a really important album for me, but do you know what D'Angelo is up to these days? Like,
Yeah, he's studying quantum physics. He's working on his music still. We talk a couple of times a week. He's working on music, and the music is, you're going to shit on yourself.
Yeah. Do you know if he has any, like, imminent release plans?
I don't. I mean, I really don't. Because he takes his time, and he's one of those musicians that is, I am a musician. That's what I am. And he's from the church. You know, his mama is a pastor, and he plays at church, you know, and he's just a musician. This is what I do. If I put out an album, cool, you know, but this is just what he does, you know, and he's not a big fan of rushing anything, as you know. So I'm waiting on it like you, because I think we need that. The world needs that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, Erykah Badu.
Thank you.